Let's knit a bowl cozy to keep your bowls warm. This cozy can be warmed in the microwave with your bowl or placed under it after to keep your hands from burning and your dish insulated. This cozy is washable in cotton, and you may find it useful to double as a nice hot pad for smaller dishes. They make great housewarming gifts, and we do have this in a couple of sizes, so stay tuned for that pattern. And let's make a bowl cozy today here on Good Knit Kisses. Welcome to Good Knit Kisses. We're all about helping you stitch your love and love your stitches. To get the written pattern on our bowl cozy and the links to the supplies, please click down in the video description and the links below, and that'll all be there for you. You can also get a PDF ad-free if you'd like as well. We also have a right and left-handed video tutorial down in the links in the video description below if you need that, as well as links to basic tutorials. We will be knitting in here. We'll also be knitting two together, SSK, so do a slip knit, as well as bind off, and a KFB. So if you don't know what those are, we will cover those in this tutorial as well. So this should be a pretty easy pattern if you know simple knits and increases, and then we'll do a little 3-needle bind off together to give it that bowl shape. All right, so grab your supplies and we will begin. We're gonna start this, and we do have a couple bowl sizes. The one that I'm doing in this video is this size here. It's the larger one. It is approximately 7 inches by 7 inches, and it sits off the table about 2 inches. So for this larger size, we're going to be increasing stitches up to 38, but if you have the smaller bowl size, you'll just have a different number. And then when we do the halfway point things that you'll see later on in the video, just look to the pattern to see what that number is where you're going to be placing a stitch marker. So again, I'm going on the assumption that you know how to knit already, or at least how to cast on. So I might do this part a little fast, but we have tutorial videos referenced down below. So go ahead and make your slip knot and start. I actually like to start it without a slip knot here. So I'm going to have a nice little tail for just 3 stitches, and go ahead and cast on where you have 3. All right, so your slip knot doesn't count, or it does count for the first stitch, and then you have your next 2 stitches. So come around, and we're going to do a foundation row. Make sure that you are knitting with the ball yarn, and a foundation row of just knitting all 3 stitches. This is the only time that you are not increasing on your row. Okay. We're ready for row 1. Don't worry about being right side or wrong side until later. So we're going to simply start with a KFB, or a knit front back. So we're going to knit into the front of that stitch, pull our stitch forward and swing around the back and knit that stitch. Now sometimes people do a KFB and they just pick it up. I think it's better to just go ahead and knit that in this particular pattern. Okay, so go ahead and knit that stitch and then knit to the end of the row. All right, so you're going to continue to do that again. So turn it around, and you're going to continue KFB, knit to the end of the row until you have the right number of stitches for the size of bowl cozy that you need. I think we have it as 32 and 38 stitches, but be sure and check your pattern for that. Our larger one is 38. So KFB is knit in the front and the back of the stitch to increase, knit to the end. All right, pause your video, and I will meet you back up when you have 38 stitches on your needles, or your the amount that's prescribed for your size. All right, we'll see you then. You should have 38 stitches on your needles, and before we begin the next row, go ahead and count 19 stitches in, which is halfway, and put in a stitch marker. And if you don't have a locking one that opens like this, you can just slip the stitches or put that in when we get to that point here. You'll see that on the next row. Let's go ahead and do that now. Let's see, 5, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Put that on and lock it. All right, and go ahead and mark the right side, and this stitch marker here is just going to get placed on the front, the right side, and leave that in, and we're going to make all 4 of our triangles, and they're going to keep this stitch marker on here. It's going to keep it face up, so you'll know what to do when we're seaming. Everything will be on the right side, and everything will line up properly. All right, so let's go ahead and begin our row 2, and we're going to begin as we did before with a knit front back, increasing that first stitch, and we're going to knit until 2 stitches before the stitch marker. Okay, now we're going to knit 2 together, and slip that stitch marker, and SSK, or slip slip knit. So slip that first stitch and slip the second stitch, put your needle in the front of that stitch and knit in the back loop, and then knit to the end. Okay. We decreased twice on this row, but we also increased the beginning, so you should have 37 stitches. Now on the wrong side row, this is row 3, we are going to increase once and knit across. So we're going to knit front back this first stitch, and then knit all stitches remaining. So just slip the marker as you move past it. Pause your video as needed. All right, we're back on the right side, and now we're going to repeat rows 2 through 3 twice. So we're going to go ahead and knit front back, and then 2 stitches before the marker, knit 2 together, slip the marker, and then slip slip knit and knit to the end of the row. And then on the wrong side, you are not decreasing in the middle, so you're just increasing at the beginning on both of them, and only the right side are you decreasing twice right in the middle. Okay, so go ahead and continue that. Pause your video, and I will meet you at that point. We'll see you in a moment. All right, now that you have your triangle finished, you're ready to bind off. So you should see the triangle is starting to kind of bend a little bit in the middle, and you'll see that more prominent once you bind off. So bind off loosely. You can remove this stitch marker as you come to it. So just knit the first stitch and knit the second stitch, and knit the first stitch over the second, and keep going. Knit one more stitch and knit over to bind that off. Keep going all the way till the end, and before you cut your tail, come back to this part of the video, and I'll show you what we're going to do with the tails, because we're going to make 4 of these, and 2 of them will have long tails and 2 short for seaming. All right, pause your video and I'll see you there. All right, we have bound off and we have this last loop here, and you're going to pull through a nice long strand, and I'm going to pull out about 1.5 yards to 2 yards. Now what it represents is this length here times 3 and then 1 more, because we're going to be seaming together across 2 of them at the same time when we finish. So we're going to make 2 of these triangles with long tails and 2 of them with short tails. So go ahead and pull that through and set them aside. I've made a little butterfly bobbin. I've got a video for that if you want a tutorial on how to do that. So go ahead and make 4 of them just like this, and when we come back, we will put this together and seam it on camera. We'll see you soon. So after you have your 4 triangles done, make sure you've woven in all of the short tails at the beginning, and then the short tails on these 2 triangles here. And then I've got the ones with the 2 long tails at the bottom here. So I've laid them out with the right sides facing up. You can also face them down, just know that they're all in the same direction. And we're going to use this tail here and our needles, and go ahead and do a 3 needle bind off, and we're going to sew all the way across. So we're going to use 3 needle bind off to stitch these 2 together, these 2 triangles together, and then come across and do these 2 triangles, and then we will make this vertical part here and connect with this long portion. So this long tail here is going to go all the way across here, and this long tail at the bottom is going to go all the way up here. All right, so let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so I'm going to pick up my first triangle and my second, and go ahead and put their wrong sides together and insert into this first sort of stitch here. We're just going to go through these 2 stitches and then go through the end up here, these 2, and we're just going to knit and pull that through. Okay, so now we've picked up both these stitches and gone all the way through, just really picking up 1 stitch. We're going to go through the next stitch over, just go down between the next garter stitch ridge. Make sure you're going with 2 stitches on the outside here, and do the same on the back, and then go ahead and knit. You're picking up a stitch and pulling through just like that. And then now we want to take our other needle and knit the back stitch over the first stitch, or that last stitch, and we've now bound off 1 stitch. So we're going to pick up another stitch here on the front and on the back, all right, go ahead and pick up a stitch and pull it through both panels and knit over, binding off. There we go. You're just going to keep going like that. Pick up a stitch from both panels, pull it up. If you need to go individually 1 panel at a time, and that's what you do, and knit over. Make sure that you're doing it loose enough. You don't want to make this too tight where it's just really bunched up. So continue going all the way down to this corner here, or the end of your triangle. Pause your video and I'll meet you there. All right, so I've laid this out so you can see it. I'm halfway. I've gone all the way down to the end of joining these 2 triangles, and now we're ready to grab the next 2. So I have a stitch here on this last part, and we're going to go in to the very tip of these next 2, and so that very first one, and then placing the wrong sides of these 2 together and go into the very edge stitch, picking that up. It can be a little fiddly. Pull through and go ahead and pick up your other needle and knit over. I urge you to make sure and make this a much tighter stitch. Make sure to pull that very tight, and then it will get joined again over here. We'll kind of go over that area again when we come back and get this thing completed. So go down to the next garter ridge and pick up a couple of stitches in both panels. Pick that up and bind off. And keep going. So if you have a hard time with these kind of flopping around, you could take a stitch marker and connect these pieces to keep it all together so you know which way you're going, if that's easier for you. So continue going all the way down to the end, and then you're going to weave in your tail and start on the next part. So I'll meet you at that part of the video. All right, I'm down at the end, and I went in between this last garter stitch and the bind off row, and now I'm just grabbing the very last stitch on the bind off from both of these panels, and I'm gonna pull through. Oh, yep, it's a little tight. Pick that up and pull it through this first panel. Okay, 2 stitches left, and bind off, and then pull through the remaining tail, and then that tail will get woven in, and you can just easily put it right into this part, or weave it into your garter stitch here. And so now let's lay this down. This is what you just did. Oops, I'm flipped around here. All right, so we just went across all of here, and now you need to turn it and begin the 3 needle bind off across here. So do exactly what we just did, and then weave in your tails. So let's go ahead and start this one more time so you see it. We're gonna put these 2 pieces together. Go ahead in the very tip, go right through there and pick up a stitch. Okay, go into that next little garter stitch. Spacing, make sure you're picking up wrong side to wrong side, and pull through, picking up 1 stitch, grab your other needle and bind off, and there you go. You can start pulling through those stitches through both panels and binding off as you go. Go ahead and keep doing that, and I will come back when I get to this middle part to join that up again. Pause your video and I'll see you there. All right, so we've got 3 of them attached, and now we need to pick up this end here, and it's really going to close that up. And it looks like I'm not quite to the corner here, so you can also grab it right in the corner and pull it through this corner over here on this side of the seam, like right before the seam, to really close that gap. And I find I have to just really maneuver my fingers in here, like really trying to pull that through, kind of follow it along. Oh, I got it in one swoop. Okay, that doesn't always happen. So if you try and pick it up and you can't get through, just try it a couple of times. And there you go, just bind that off. All right, and then now we're on to the last seam. Make sure you're putting those 2 wrong sides together, and it's going to get seamed like that. So now we're just going to jump over this seam here, and this is where you can be a little bit looser than before when you first join that corner. Go ahead and pick up close to that seam as possible in both sides, or both panels. Pull up that stitch and knit over. All right, and now we're going to pick up next stitch and knit over to bind off, just as you've been doing. And now we're over that little hump right there, and you're just going to keep going all the way till the very end, and then you're going to weave in your tails. So pause your video and I will see you there. All right, so mine is done. I just need to finish weaving in my tails. I've woven in this one over here, and here's the last one. So a couple of ways you can do this is into your garter stitch, as you may have done in the past. I'm just going to go ahead and close up any remaining holes. Like if I didn't get that last part in there very well, I'll just go through these a couple of times. And you can actually just pull this right through the seam and just weave it in this way and bury it really easily. So I'll go through several times. You could probably go down a little bit more, but I'm going to come back up in the other direction and then go back down through several stitches, kind of pull it through the middle, pull on my stitches, go ahead and cut it, and then take out your stitch markers. You don't need those anymore. There we go. And then if it's a little bit floppy or out of shape, you're just gonna, you can throw that in the washing machine. It will kind of shrink down a little bit. These may expand with use, but really they should hold their shape pretty well. So you can see it kind of curves up a little bit. I'm gonna put one of my bowls in here, and this one is my larger bowl cover. I also have another size as well, so you can get both of those, of course, on our website, and you can see how well it covers my bowl. It's very similar to a quilted one that I have. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial and enjoyed our knitted bowl cover. We'll see you soon here at Good Knit Kisses. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thanks for joining us today, where we help you stitch your love and love your stitches. See you again soon.